Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It all began on an ordinary Thursday evening. I was rummaging through the drawers, searching for the warranty for our refrigerator that had suddenly decided to act up, when I stumbled upon a stack of old phone bills. Driven by an inexplicable curiosity, I started to sift through them, and that's when I noticed it, a number that was unfamiliar yet frequently dialed from Adelia's phone. Intrigued, I reached for my phone. The house was silent, save for the distant hum of traffic and the occasional bark of a neighborhood dog. My finger hesitated over the dial button, a myriad of emotions churned within me. With a deep breath, I pressed call, the phone pressed tightly to my ear. The line trilled for a moment before a male voice answered. There was a palpable surprise in his tone, an unexpected urgency that made me frown. Have you forgiven me? Everything with Veronica is in the past, I only love you. Don't hang up on me, he blurted out, his voice a mix of desperation and confusion. I froze, the words striking me like icy shards. I think you've got the wrong person, I managed to say, my voice low, strained by the shock and the burgeoning realization of Adelia's betrayal. No, wait, please, he started, but I cut him off. Who are you? My demand was sharp, fueled by a rising tide of anger and hurt. There was a brief silence, a hesitation, then a sigh. I'm Eric. And you are? Adelia's husband, I replied tersely, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. Oh God, Eric murmured, a genuine note of regret in his voice. I had no idea she was married. The conversation that followed was a whirlwind of confessions and revelations. Eric revealed his own story of deception. Adelia had lied to him as well, painting herself as a single woman caught in a tumultuous on-and-off relationship with a woman named Veronica. It was clear, Adelia was living a double life, and both Eric and I were mere actors in her personal drama. I ended the call with a mind swirling with betrayal and a heart heavy with loss. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a stage for Adelia's lies. I walked through the rooms, each one echoing with the ghost of past moments, of laughter and love that now seemed like a cruel joke. In a fit of rage, I began to plan my revenge. It wasn't just about the betrayal or the lies anymore, it was about reclaiming my life and dignity. The divorce papers were just the beginning. As I sat at the kitchen table, the papers spread out before me like a battlefield. I knew our paths would part forever, but first, justice would have its day. The evening air was cool as I stepped outside, the weight of the phone in my pocket a constant reminder of the double betrayal. I looked up at the clear night sky, the stars witness to my resolve. This was only the beginning, and the intrigue of what was to come promised to unravel even more truths in the shadows of the night. The morning after the call, I awoke with a plan crystallizing in my mind. Today was the day I would confront Adelia, but first, I needed concrete evidence. I couldn't let my emotions lead, this had to be tactical. I contacted a private investigator renowned for discretion. I need to know everything, I told him over the phone, my voice steady but forceful. Understood, he replied, his tone professional. I'll start with the phone records and surveillance. Give me 48 hours. True to his word, by Saturday morning, I had an envelope filled with photos and detailed reports waiting for me. The evidence was irrefutable. Adelia, with her radiant smile, captured in two close embraces with Eric at various locations, cafes, parks, and a particularly damning photo of them entering a boutique hotel. Armed with this evidence, I waited for her to return from her supposed yoga class. When she entered the house, her face was the picture of serenity, oblivious to the storm about to break. We need to talk, I said, my voice calm but carrying an edge that made her pause. What's wrong? She asked, frowning slightly, her bag slipping from her shoulder to the floor. I spread the photos out on the dining table. Her eyes widened, her face draining of color as she picked them up, one by one. Where did you get these? Her voice was a whisper, a mix of fear and disbelief. You've been lying to me, Adelia. To us, I said, my words sharp, pointing at the undeniable proof of her duplicity. She tried to speak, to explain, but the lies tangled on her tongue. It's not what it looks like, she started, but the cliché was too much, and I couldn't contain my anger. It's exactly what it looks like, I snapped, cutting her off. You've been cheating on me, and what's worse, you've dragged other innocent people into your lies. Adelia's eyes teared up, her usual composure crumbling. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant for any of this to happen. It just did. Sorry doesn't change anything now, I retorted, feeling a bitter satisfaction as I watched her struggle with the reality of her own making. I want a divorce, Adelia. And I want you out of this house by tomorrow. Her shock was palpable, and for a moment, I almost felt pity, almost. But the betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I contacted my lawyer to initiate the divorce proceedings and watched as Adelia packed her belongings into her car, her every move heavy with the weight of her choices. As she drove away, I felt a chapter of my life close, one filled with deception but ending in decisive action. But this was not the end. There was more to be done to right the wrongs and ensure that the full extent of Adelia's deceit was brought to light. My next step was clear, I had to meet with Eric again. Only together could we piece together the entire story and perhaps find a path to mutual closure. The sun set on a day of reckoning, and as I dialed Eric's number, the line connecting with a click, I knew this was just another beginning in the intricate web of betrayal that Adelia had woven around us all. As the call connected, Eric's wary voice filled the line. Hello. Eric, it's me, I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions. We need to meet. There's more to this whole mess than either of us knows. There was a pause, a moment of hesitation, then a quiet agreement. Okay, where? Coffee shop on 5th and Main. 1 hour. Hanging up, I felt a cold determination settle over me. The drive to the cafe was quiet, the city around me bustling, unaware of the turmoil within its midst. Eric was already there when I arrived, seated in a corner with 2 coffees waiting. His face was drawn, eyes tired. The man in front of me was a far cry from the confident voice that had unwittingly confessed love to a stranger just days ago. Thanks for coming, I started, taking a seat. He nodded, pushing one of the coffees toward me. I guess we're both looking for answers. We are. What did she tell you about herself? I asked, sipping the bitter coffee. Eric sighed, rubbing his forehead. She said her name was Adele. That she was in a complicated relationship with someone named Veronica, but it was ending. I thought we had something real, he admitted, the hurt evident in his voice. I leaned forward, my mind racing. She told me about Veronica too, said she was an old friend who kept bothering her. It was all lies. She was seeing both of us, and who knows who else. Eric's eyes darkened. We need to find out everything. Expose her, not just for us, but to prevent her from doing this to anyone else. I agree. I started by talking to the PI I hired. He's digging deeper, looking into her past relationships and any other lies she might have told. As we talked, a plan began to take shape. We would gather all the information we could, compile evidence of her deceit, and bring it to light. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice, about stopping her before she spun her web around another unsuspecting victim. The meeting ended with a firm handshake, an unspoken agreement of our new alliance formed from the ashes of our shared betrayal. Over the next few weeks, the PI provided updates, a litany of lies and manipulation. Adelia, or Adele as she sometimes called herself, had a history of deception. There were at least 3 other men in the past 5 years, each story ending in a similar pattern of betrayal and heartbreak. With each new revelation, my resolve hardened. I arranged a final meeting with Eric to discuss our course of action. We met at the same coffee shop, the winter air crisp and biting as I walked through the door. "This is it," I said, laying the dossier on the table between us. "Everything we need to expose her lies." Eric nodded, his face set in grim determination. "What's the plan?" "We go public. A website, maybe some contacts in the media. Anything to get the story out." "And the legal side?" he asked, his brow furrowing. "I've spoken to my lawyer. We'll make sure everything is watertight, no slander, just the truth. Pure and simple." As we talked, the final pieces of our plan fell into place. It was more than either of us had ever intended to take on, but as we stood to leave, there was a sense of impending closure. The night was clear as I drove home, the dossier resting on the passenger seat. The road ahead was uncertain, yet I felt a strange peace. The truth would soon be out, and with it, a chance to start anew, free from the shadows of deceit. The cool evening breeze was a sharp contrast to the burning fervor with which I had pursued this final act of retribution. Eric and I had spent weeks preparing, gathering every shred of evidence we could find, documenting each of Adelia's deceitful encounters. Tonight, the curtain would fall on her stage of lies. We had arranged for a final confrontation at the gallery downtown, a place that had once celebrated our anniversary, now repurposed as the stage for her unmasking. The gallery was quiet, the art on the walls bearing silent witness to the impending revelation. As I arrived, I saw Eric speaking with a man I recognized from the photos as one of Adelia's past victims. They nodded at each other, a mutual understanding passing between them before Eric caught sight of me and waved me over. "Everything set," Eric whispered as I approached. "She's on her way here, thinks she's attending a reconciliation dinner." The gallery's lights dimmed slightly, creating an ambience that was both elegant and eerie. Moments later, Adelia entered, her smile radiant as she saw what she presumed to be familiar faces, unaware of the truth that awaited her. "Adelia," I called out, stepping into the light. Her smile faltered as she saw the cold determination in my eyes. "What's this?" she asked, looking around, sensing the trap. "It's over," I said simply. "We know everything." One by one, the men she had deceived stepped forward, each telling a piece of the story. With every word, Adelia's composure cracked a little more, her eyes darting around the room as if looking for an escape. "You lied to us all," Eric said, his voice steady but filled with betrayal. "Used us for your own selfish desires." "But why?" I asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. Adelia was silent for a long moment, then laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Because I could," she finally said. "Because none of you ever saw me. You saw what you wanted to see." The room was thick with tension, the air charged as if before a storm. I stepped closer, my voice low. "You're right. And we were blind. But tonight, that changes." With a signal, the room lit up, revealing reporters hidden among the shadows, their cameras now pointed at Adelia. Her eyes widened in shock as she realized the full extent of our plan. "This is your legacy now," I told her, the gallery filled with the soft clicks of cameras and the murmur of reporters scribbling notes. Adelia turned, her face a mask of fury and disbelief. "You'll pay for this," she hissed. "No, Adelia," I replied calmly. "You already have." She stormed out, the gallery doors slamming behind her, her exit as dramatic as the life she had led. The men she had deceived nodded to each other, a silent acknowledgement of closure, before dispersing, leaving as changed men, bound by a shared history of deception and a mutual yearning for redemption. Eric and I lingered, watching the reporters file out, their stories already buzzing across social media. "We did it," Eric said, a weight lifting from his shoulders. "We did," I agreed. "But I think this is where our paths part, Eric." He nodded, understanding the unspoken words. "Take care of yourself," he said, extending his hand. I shook it, a firm grip that sealed our farewell. "You too." As I walked away from the gallery, the night seemed to close in around me, the city lights blurring into streams of color. I felt a profound relief, tinged with sorrow. Justice had been served, but at what cost? The deception was over, the truth revealed, and yet, the victory was hollow. As I disappeared into the night, I realized that some wounds would take more than revenge to heal. The path ahead was mine alone to tread, a journey of recovery from the shadows of betrayal.